I'm here with Jack Dorsey, the co-founder of Twitter and now chief executive of Square, the mobile payment company which launched in 2010 and which is about to make a very important announcement. Jack, you've just got to Europe. You're going to spend a few days here. What's the big announcement?
Well, we've always been known for a little piece of hardware that we built that enabled people to accept a credit card from their mobile phone. And it just resonated with the market instantly. And we saw all these independent sellers, all these small businesses and these growing businesses suddenly being able to accept a payment device that everyone was using. And little by little, we started building a point of sale and a register around it and all these back office tools to help them get even more sales, help them get an understanding into their business, a deeper understanding. And you know, you think about data and the data a technology company has, for instance, or a larger business, the size of a Walmart or a McDonald's or whatnot. But the smaller folks don't have any access to these tools. So what we're announcing today is we are making the register available for free as an app that people can download anywhere around the world. And they can start using it as a cash register to actually account for their business. And why this is important is because suddenly we have all this data around how their business is doing, all this understanding around who their customers are and where they're going.
Great. So to begin with, the whole point about Square was to make it easier for the consumer to, as well as the shopkeeper, the retailer, to process payments. And now what you're saying is we're going to now be able to offer a whole load of data which is accumulated around that cash register to both the consumer and the retailer?
Well, it's always been focused on the seller, although their customer always benefits. So the seller was able to suddenly accept a payment device, a credit card, that they weren't able to accept before because
at a better rate than American
At
Express?
a much better rate because you know the one thing we looked at was both speed and accessibility. And when you're accepting credit cards, you often pay this variable rate. And we simplified it down to one rate, which was 2.75%. But ultimately, people would not just swipe cards through it, they would actually account for their entire business through it. So anytime they receive cash, they would also enter it into the register. So it became a replacement for one of those cash registers that you see on a countertop. And now we're making that available for free. But it's not just a register, but it actually gives you all these insights into your business. You can actually see how your business trends. You can see what your busiest day is. You can see, you know, who your best customers are, and you can actually communicate with them through the receipts that you offer via email. And this has been out of reach for most businesses around the world, and there's over 130 million businesses today in this world who are just using, 90% of whom are just using paper to record their business.
Well, we're all moving away from paper, Jack, as we know, although newspapers still very important. But just to be clear, you started one in the American market, the North American market, US and Canada, and then you went to Japan. Why Japan?
Japan was a market that we really wanted to learn a lot from, and Japan was interesting because Japan is not a market that typically uses credit cards. It's a very cash-driven economy. Most folks buy with pure cash. So it was a real test of the concept of this register. Can it account for the entire business? Can it take any payment device that comes across the counter? And we certainly made it easy for people to swipe credit cards in Japan. But more and more people are turning to the register to actually understand their business and ultimately how to grow that business.
Right, and the payments industry itself is in tremendous upheaval, being disrupted here and there. Who do you think is going to be in the big winner in the industry in the next year? Because you're having the launch of Apple Pay and the spin out of PayPal.
Well, I think when you say payments, you know, it's a very broad spectrum of folks and companies and use cases. Bitcoin could be considered within that as well. I think
is that going to get bigger, Bitcoin?
I think digital currencies as a whole are going to be a bigger thing. If Bitcoin is the right manifestation, I'm not really sure, but there's some interesting ideas there. But what I think is really interesting around payments is not only the payment device, but what's on the other side of it as well. So as a seller is accepting a payment, what are they actually doing with that information? How are they processing it? How are they making it so that they can take that and they improve their business out of it? So I think there'll be a number of moves to make payments simpler and to make payments more mobile. But what we're concerned with is really on the seller side, how do we make that experience so fantastic that you don't even have to think about it? You can actually focus on getting those insights around how do you grow your business. And it's more around the growing the business and accounting for the business than it is just about payments. Because I think payments is just one tiny little piece of the spectrum.
So that's the next development of Square, part of the wider story, Jack Dorsey, in the disruption of what we traditionally call the financial services industry.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.